Hi, so we're going to go ahead and install Lemp, Lemp stack here. So what we have is I've logged in via PuTTY. In this case, I'm doing an example on a Windows computer, so we're using PuTTY. If you're running from Linux, you'd just be in the console. But anyway, you've logged into your remote Ubuntu operating system using SSH, and now we're going to install the Lemp stack on the remote system. So in our case, we're on an AWS Amazon Web Services instance. This is Ubuntu 16.04. But this will work with pretty much any modern version of Ubuntu after 14.10 or 14.0. I forget what the long-term service one was for 14 anymore. But it was 16.04, it'll definitely work. So, okay. So basically Lemp is the web server stack that most people use at this point. It's basically LAMP, right? So LAMP was with Apache, so it stands for L is Linux, E is Nginx, or Nginx. I don't know. Originally people said it was Nginx, and I hear everybody saying Jinx. Anyway, so it's the web server is Nginx. And then the M is MySQL and the P is PHP. So you might also see LAMP, and that's just where Nginx is Apache instead. Apache is in wide use, obviously. Nginx, it's the one I prefer myself. It seems to be a little bit less complicated than Apache. Apache does a lot of stuff. Nginx is a little bit more straightforward, I think, for just your standard PHP application. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right in here. I have a set of instructions which I'm going to post in the comments. So you're going to watch me go through with explanation, and then this will be available for you to do it just as I'm doing it. Okay, the first thing we're going to do here, so in PuTTY we can right-click to paste. So you'll notice that I'm copying from the instructions and then right-clicking in PuTTY to paste. If you're in Linux, if you've just connected using the console or SSH, then it's Control-Shift-V most of the time is the paste. So if you're used to using Control-Shift-V in your PuTTY, it's right-click. All right. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do sudo apt-get update. Now I know I can use apt. I don't know why, it's kind of habit at this point. So it's apt-get. It's your choice. So and remember that sudo is that I'm executing the apt-get program as the administrator. So I put sudo at the beginning of the line. And then update is the keyword, or is the parameter that I'm giving to apt-get, so it knows what I want it to do. Okay, so we're going to do apt-get update. This is standard, so anytime that you want to install software, the very first thing you want to do is update. So notice that it's going out to the repositories. So these things are repositories. It's just like an app store on your phone. Basically, this is a big set of software on the internet, and it's updating all of the list of software, basically. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is as apt-get upgrade. This is especially if you've just installed the server. So notice, we just installed this on AWS. We launched an instance, and it's never going to be totally up to date, right? Unless it was, just created yesterday. If the install media was just created yesterday, but in most cases it won't be. So we're going to go ahead and sudo apt-get upgrade, and basically what this is going to do is it's going to say, oh, is there stuff on the computer that can be updated? And that's what we want to do. So we want to say, okay, update anything that can be updated, basically. There are some other options on this, like a distribution upgrade and whatnot. But the apt-get upgrade is the standard thing to do before installing anything on an Ubuntu machine. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the web server. So we're going to sudo apt-get install nginx. So notice that we're going to run apt-get as the administrator, and the command that we're going to do is to install. And install takes a parameter, and that's the name of the program. In this case, it's Nginx. So enter, it says, hey, do you want to continue? Notice that the good thing about, so Apt-Get is what's called a package manager. So it keeps track of, oh, these additional packages will be installed, right? So we want to install Nginx, but Nginx has a lot of things it depends on, right? A lot of programs it depends on that aren't on the computer yet. So basically what it says is, hey, do you want to install these also? And we say, well, yes, we would. Yes, we would like to install those. So yes is the default option. We hit enter. And so now what it does, it downloads all of that software, and then it processes them and then unpacks them and processes them and sets them up on the computer. So it installs them. All right, so Nginx is installed, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to configure the firewall. So the default firewall on Ubuntu is UFW, stands for Uncomplicated Firewall. So we're going to go ahead and sudo UFW, right? And then we're going to say allow Nginx for HTTP. So that's like saying, well, allow the program Nginx to communicate via HTTP. We hit enter. Okay, the rules have been updated. If you got something that said, hey, you know, what's UFW? If you get an error, you might have to apt-get install UFW. Okay, but obviously on the Amazon Web Service Ubuntu, you do not, because we did not get an error. Okay, next thing is we're going to say sudo UFW status. Okay, and notice UFW right now is inactive. Okay, so the firewall, we do want the firewall active. The firewall we're not going to go into right now. If it was already active, I would leave it active. The problem with a firewall is if you have the wrong rules and you activate it, it can immediately cut off access to your server. So this is kind of another set of things we'd want to do. So we're just going to leave that for now. All right, now we want to go and check out our web server at this point. So we have a web server running on our computer, okay? And notice that we know our IP because we went in there, right? So we're going to go ahead and check out our web server here. So we're basically just going to type in our IP address. So 18, for me, it's 18.216.78.53. Yours will be something different, obviously, okay? But it's whatever IP, it's the IP address of the server you're working on. Can't be reached. It's not good. Okay, this is coming. So you're going to get to watch me troubleshoot my connection here. Okay, I forgot to do a step, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to log back into AWS here. Okay, so we're going to go to the AWS website, and we're going to go to sign into the console. I was already signed in, and we're going to go to EC2. And then I'm going to go to instances. Okay, and notice my web service here. Okay, my instance is running here, right? Okay. And let's go to my security group, right? Because this is likely where the problem is. Okay. Now remember that I said that, hey, we don't want to activate the firewall because that's going to cause problems, right? Well, it turns out when you launch a web server on AWS, when you launch an instance on AWS, it gets assigned a security group automatically. And notice that the only thing that is allowed right now inbound is SSH on TCP over port 22, okay? So even though everything is allowed outbound, no requests can come into the computer, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and edit this, right? And we're going to go ahead and add a rule, okay? And what we're going to add is we're going to add this rule. We're going to add, HTTP over port 80, okay? And we're going to add it for all computers, okay? We're going to add another rule, HTTPS over port 443, okay? And we're going to save it, okay? All right, so now we have different security rules running. Okay, we're going to go ahead and try to access our server again. And notice once it was so quick, you might not have seen it happen there. Okay, so basically now we're going to try it again here, right? So we have our IP address, okay, and we have our IP address over HTTP. We hit enter, and here is our test page. Okay, so basically this is Nginx running, right? So this is our web server running, and it's serving web pages. This is the default web page on our IP address of our server. Okay, so that's the first step in installing our Lemp stack, which is installing Nginx. Best of luck.